Living in St. Albert is not all sunshine and rainbows. If you can't handle these 5 things, you might want to consider moving somewhere else. Hi, my name is Evan and I'm a real estate agent here in St. Albert and the Edmonton area. And if you have any questions at all about moving here, my contact information will be in the description below. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be happy to help you. Now, if you learned something in this video, please consider subscribing. I've got a lot of really good videos planned. Let's get into it. The 5 reasons why you may not want to move to St. Albert. Now, I've lived in St. Albert since the day I was born, so I feel like I'm pretty qualified to talk about this topic, and I'm gonna be brutally honest with you in this video and not sugarcoat a single thing. We're gonna get right into it and start with property taxes. Now, if you've researched St. Albert for any length of time, chances are you've read this already because people love to complain about the property taxes in St. Albert. And the truth is, St. Albert's property taxes are the second highest of any municipality in all of Alberta, just behind the #1 spot of Grand Prairie. Now, one of the main reasons that St. Albert's property taxes are so high is because there's really little to no industrial sector in the city. Lots of municipalities take a ton of income from taxing the industrial sector of their cities, and because St. Albert doesn't have that, the residents are forced to carry more of the burden to make sure that the city still makes enough money. St. Albert's property tax rate is 1.1% of the assessed value of the property. In comparison to Edmonton, where it's 0.94%, or Spruce Grove, which is a city just outside of Edmonton, at 0.89%, it's definitely the highest property taxes in the area. To put it into some context here, on a $500,000 tax-assessed home in St. Albert, you would be paying $5,500 a year for property taxes. In Edmonton, approximately $4,700 a year, and in Spruce Grove, approximately $4,450 a year. Now, that does bear a question. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to pay more property taxes to live in a city with less industry, where the roads are maintained well and the parks are kept really clean? In my opinion, yes, it is worth it. In lots of St. Albert residents' opinion, yes, it is worth it. However, that is up to personal opinion, and that's for you to decide. Now, the second reason that you may not want to move to St. Albert is rich, snobby people. The truth is that St. Albert is viewed as the city in the area where you'll see 16, 17-year-old kids driving around in G-Wagons or sports cars that their parents bought for them, and honestly, that's kind of true. You do see that. The truth is that lots of rich people do live in St. Albert, and sometimes they can have higher standards, maybe be considered as arrogant or snobby. Statistic-wise, St. Albert ranks as number 10 in the province for highest median household income at $136,000, compared to Edmonton, which ranks number 56 on that same metric at $112,000. Now, the way that I think about this is, if people are rich and they have lots of options, why do they choose to live here? That's something that I would think about. Now, the third reason that you may decide not to move to St. Albert is the lack of diversity. St. Albert's population is very white. In 2021, 83.4% of St. Albert residents were of white or European origin. You're gonna find a lot more diversity in Edmonton, where that number is only about 60%. Growing up in this city, I never once witnessed any form of racism, and it certainly wasn't tolerated by any standard. However, being a white male myself, I figure I probably can't speak much more than this on it because I don't have personal experience. Now, the fourth reason that you may decide not to move to St. Albert is the lack of public transportation. You pretty much need to own a vehicle to live in St. Albert. The way that the city is set up, all the businesses are right down the center along St. Albert Trail. All of the neighborhoods are in the surrounding edges of the city. So if you are somebody who likes to walk to the grocery store and you're gonna move to St. Albert with no car, you should make sure that your house is close to one, because it's not as easy as going to your neighborhood grocery store. We do have a public transit system. It's not very efficient, and when it's the middle of the winter and minus 45 degrees outside, chances are you're probably not going to want to be waiting at a bus stop for your bus to show up just to go get some groceries. Some people make it work in St. Albert with no vehicle, but to be honest with you, it's going to be very inconvenient and you're going to wish you had one. And that leads us to our fifth reason you may not want to move to St. Albert, which we just briefly talked about, and that is the cold weather. It gets gets brutally cold here for a couple weeks a year in the middle of winter. It can get as cold as -45, even -50 or colder with the wind chill. And it's honestly dangerous to be outside when it's that cold. Nobody leaves their house at all unless they absolutely have to. And sometimes even if you want to, your car won't even start. It's too freaking cold for your car to turn over. When it's that cold outside, your windows will have ice building up on the inside of them, and you can boil a pot of hot water, go outside, throw it up in the air, and all of the water will turn into ice before it hits the ground. Pretty cool, but that shows you how cold it is. Now, I know that this video was quite negative, and honestly, I'm not a very negative person. I hate making videos like this, but you deserve to know the good and the bad about living in St. Albert before moving here, and that's what this video was all about. If you're interested in learning some of the best parts about living in St. Albert, I'll put that video on the screen here for you to check out. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Contact information is below if you have any questions. Consider subscribing if you learned something. Until next time, cheers.